Over the last 3 years, you guys have probably noticed a shift on this channel where I went from covering every single update for every single tactical shooter that was ever releasing, Insurgency, Ground Branch, Zero Hour, Ready or Not. I covered them all. And then in 2022, I got incredibly burnt out looking at the same updates for the same games. I was working on game jams. We were talking about potentially jumping into game development at the time. I was just incredibly burnt out of doing the same thing. I needed something different. And then obviously game development and my own journey with that started a few months after I started really getting burned out. And then for the last 3 years, I have been focusing on my own game development journey, working on transients in the background, not really wanting to talk about it and bring it to the channel and talk about it on a weekly basis. You guys get devlogs every like 6 months. Another one coming soon, by the way. But I didn't want this channel to be overtaken by the things that I'm actually passionate about, because I didn't want to flood you and make it seem like I'm self-advertising or my whole focus has shifted to this. I still wanted to like give you guys the content that I know you guys enjoy and that I still enjoy. But honestly, for the last 3 years, I have been completely disconnected from the tactical FPS scene. We have seen a few games rise and get out of the early access, you know, hellscape that is game development, games like Ready or Not, games like Zero Hour. But back in the day, I used to cover the shit out of games like Insurgency Sandstorm and Ground Branch. And back then, I just hit a moment where I just needed a fucking break. And now that we're actually in the process of finishing the development of my own project, I'm looking around the landscape going, okay, I've been away for a while. What's been going on? And I'm actually really pleasantly surprised to say there's a lot of shit to talk about in the FPS space, starting today with the fact that Ground Branch has released their version 1035 update. We're going to go through exactly what this update is, because I'm going to start off with a little bit of criticism. They dropped a launch trailer for this update and didn't explain a fucking thing about what's actually in the patch, and there's a lot, so that's what this video is going to be. If you guys missed my Ground Branch and tactical shooter coverage, hibernation mode is over. Let's jump into Ground Branch. If you guys end up liking the video, leave a like on it, subscribe for everything tactical FPS. My name is Big Fry, and it feels so good to be back. So the big thing with this update is they're reworking all of their gameplay systems to be basically recompiled and rebuilt under the framework that is called the Gameplay Ability System. This is a framework that is available in Unreal Engine that basically allows you to build out attributes, abilities, and interactions for an actor, that basically allows you to just create a flexible and scalable system for managing different gameplay mechanics for both single player and multiplayer experiences. So I'm not going to call it like a full ground up rework, but they are reworking a lot of the logic with how all of these systems are interacting with one another, which is huge. There's a reason I had to go back several months worth of updates to actually find out everything that they're doing with 1035, because this is actually a pretty big undertaking for a development team of this size. Now, the fact that we're seeing this now is a good thing, but it is a symptom of a bigger criticism that I think myself and a lot of others have had with Ground Branch in the past, and that's the fact that it's just been in development for so long that after a while you start to accumulate a little bit of tech debt as, you know, implementations and frameworks come out that you could actually benefit from. The game has been in development since I think 2012, 2013, and then all of that stuff was scrapped. They started basically reworking the game again, I think in 2016. So it's been an ongoing process, and as new technology comes out and as new frameworks come out like this gas system, they want to take advantage of it, and obviously it's going to help development, and it is a net positive for the project that it's happening. And like they've reiterated in multiple posts that I've now read through, this is the last huge hurdle that this team needs to mount over to then start to set themselves at a more consistent pace to ramp towards a 1.0 launch. It's taking forever, and in some cases I think it's taking longer than it should. But if there is one thing that I have learned working on my own project and putting that together, is game development is not a linear thing. It's not like you can go from here to here, no setbacks, no hurdles, no problems. Everybody's journey is different. I hope that Ground Branch can eventually see 1.0, and I hope that it is true that this is the last major hurdle for them, because it's been too goddamn long. Anyways, back to the update. The entire game, every system is being reworked to be fit under this GAS system. And with that, we now have a new operations menu, which if you click it right on the main menu, it takes you to their new interface for viewing and selecting campaign missions, which are obviously going to be, expanded upon in the future. But you also have access to their first mission demo called Silent Reach, set on the Depot map, which I will probably be having a video later this week go out with me playing through that mission in its entirety. As much as this is just an interface that takes you to, different missions that are set on different maps, this is the first time that I have felt that Ground Branch is actually like a video game and not just, a shooting gallery, not just a tech demo. This is starting to feel like the actual game and the product is being put together, and it's actually really exciting. Now, when it comes to the first mission that we have access to, it's a demo mission. The developers say it's basically meant to be a vertical slice of their projected gameplay experience, featuring AI teammates, and according to them, admittedly, very basic ones that can receive various types of orders as well as multiple objectives, which could include anything like demolitions, scouting and searching, high-value target assassinations, and even a cutscene at the end, which obviously can be skipped. But this is them showing, hey, we're actually focusing on creating a game that has all of the features that gamers expect nowadays. This is fucking huge. Even though it's early, even though it's a demo, I'm just glad to see that we're finally getting here. And with that update, we also have a complete overhaul to the customization UI for weapons. So you have what actually reminds me more of something that you'd see in something like Call of Duty, with all of the attachments laid out across the bottom. But seeing this system, it's a far cry from what I'm used to seeing in this game, and it's looking really, really good. We've got some nice quality of life updates here for ladders, things like interrupting your high and low ready. Basically, if you're changing weapon positions, they can now be interrupted before the transition is complete. You can start firing before the weapon is actually in those positions. And they've also done a pretty major overhaul to ballistics. A lot of it, they said, is under the hood, but you will notice a bigger difference in bullet drop and travel time between different rounds at medium and long ranges. And then with those changes, it is slightly modifying damage in the process. And then for all the gun nerds out there, we have a bunch of new weapons at our disposal. We have the AK-103 Alpha. You guys are seeing it here with a bunch of aftermarket accessories. We have the G36K Custom, the AUG A3, the LVAW Assault Rifle, and they've also finally brought in the AS Val and the ASM Val. We have two new sniper rifles. I say two, it's technically one, the VSS Ventores and the VSS-M Ventores. And we have a new pistol, the MK24 Cap. And with that, a bunch of new accessories have been brought to the game, new pistol attachments, new scopes, red dot sights, as well as a new IR strobe. And they've also brought in chem lights that you can drop on the ground for marking positions. There's new clothing and gear for those who like to play Barbie dress up. You have soft shell jackets, as well as soft shell jackets with the hoods. There's new balaclavas and new pouches you can throw on your character as well for loose cartridges. And it's funny, they front load the patch notes with that stuff, but then they get into enemy AI and all of their new behavior systems. This is way more important to me as somebody who's played Ground Branch since I think 2016. AI can now throw frags at players. They may throw smoke grenades to cover a retreat. They now notice your flashlights and will investigate the source of those lights. And with that, because they can notice it now, you can also blind AI by pointing directly at their face at close range. They have new idle animations. Their movement overhaul has had various tweaks and changes. They've also reworked their AI patrol system, so patrolling should be more unpredictable and AI might cover their routes more thoroughly. And some existing factions have been adjusted and expanded with more kit variety. A whole new faction has been added, including Western PMCs, Insurgent, and Cartel. And alongside that, a whole bunch of new faction voice lines have been brought into the game. And because we're talking about Insurgents, PMCs, and Cartels, it can't be a cartel without a brand new map for this update. This map is called Ranch. It's situated near the US border in Mexico and obviously is home to a notorious cartel leader. You guys can see the map on your screen here. It's an expansive estate, and it includes a garage, stables, and other outbuildings in addition to a sprawling house complex. And with that, a whole new set of quick missions have been created for this map. They also overhauled Power Station. It was remade completely from the ground up for this patch. Though the overall layout is similar to the old map, it's been expanded considerably and offers a lot more complexity. Depot has had some changes in a lot of places to make it fit better in the narrative and the gameplay of the new campaign mission. Small Town has had a little facelift, and they say it adds more character and variety to the buildings. And then we've had updates to lighting, fog, and other map-related changes. A lot of assets and foliage have been updated with new models and materials, and they've done a bunch of HLOT optimizations, which is huge. And then there's a bunch of things that they've worked on that might not grab people's attention, but like the new night vision system has had another tweak. They've worked a bunch of different weapon animations. New mocap and other animations have been done as well for the enemy AI. Obviously the mag check and to reload animations, like just a bunch of small tweaks that go towards, you know, obviously making the entire product better. But yeah, for the first time in a long time, I've wanted to jump into these games, Ground Branch, Insurgency, Ready or Not, and just get back to doing what I do best, which is making coverage of games that I'm actually passionate about, games I care about. I just needed a break. Because when you're in the shit like daily, looking at community hub patches, and just doing, basically, essentially, I was going through the motions, and it started to really give me a really negative outlook when I was just in it, looking at these small incremental updates and not being able to take a step back, let things breathe for a while. I was sitting there like, man, why does this patch matter? Why does this fucking update matter? This update doesn't, and I started getting really, really negative about it. And then I went through my own journey. I just took a step back, and I realized that these games are being made by passionate individuals who aren't chasing trends, who aren't chasing dollar signs, who are making games that they want to make for a community that might not be thousands and thousands of players large. But if you're not only playing Ground Branch in 2025, but you're following the updates for Ground Branch, it's because you can't get this experience anywhere else. You're not getting it in the AAA space. Yeah, you might be able to play a game like Ready or Not or 0 Hour or Ground Branch. They're all kind of in the same scope and same realm, but that realm and that niche is very, very small, and I think that's what brought a lot of people to this channel in the first place. And a few years ago, I think I lost sight of that. And so like I said in the intro, we're getting close to the wrap up for Transients. The team is getting excited. We're getting nervous. There's still so much to do, but the game is coming out soon. And I think for the first time in 3 years, I've looked around. I'm like, okay, I can maybe start like focusing all of my attention on content again for a while. What does that even look like? And I started looking around, and I was just like, I kind of just want to play some Ground Branch. And so I jumped in, and I was like, you know what? Why don't we cover it? Why don't we talk about it like we used to? At the end of the day, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If I can leave you with one thing, it's that yes, there are times where we're in the trenches, we're following these games, we're supporting a ton of different early access projects, Ground Branch included in that, and it gets frustrating watching a game take years and years and years to get to a finish line that for a lot of us might be hard to see. Going through the journey on the development side of things, I understand how stressful that can be on their end, and I also understand the fucking workload and the immense pressure that they have riding on their shoulders to deliver a game that everybody has been following and supporting for so long. And so yes, it gets frustrating. Yes, it gets annoying. Oh, why is this taking so long? Blah, blah, blah. Who gives a fuck? Some games take 2 years to create, some games take 5, some games take 12. At the end of the day, as consumers, there's nothing we can do about it outside of just stand by and wait. And if I could give some advice from somebody who literally just did that for the last 3 years, take a step back, shelve it, uninstall it, come back in a few years' time and see where it's at. Because like that's just really all we can do. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Big Fry. Leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed it, and subscribe for more content just like this. And I'll see you on the next one.